And we are live. Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour. And I am here, of course, with Dylann. Dylann, hello. How are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you?
Good. I am a little bit crooked, as you can see on my screen. I'm joining you today from my phone because my computer decided to die on me. So, yeah. But we're going to make it work. And Dylann promised to help me out a little bit more than on my side. And we're joined by Nicole Craig and Mica Kennedy. Welcome, ladies.
Hello,
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being
Awesome.
with us tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks
thank you for having
us.
us.
So, Dylann,
Mm-hmm.
what are you working on? Where have you been? Have you been traveling or
Um,
anything?
no, I haven't been. Well, we went to the cabin over the 4th, and that was nice. Except, oh my gosh, we took our dogs, both dogs, with us this time, and the big one, who doesn't like fireworks and is on anxiety meds, was a lot. So I think that she might not get to go to the cabin anymore. So it was,
Oh,
it was nice, but not super relaxing. But other than that, what am I working on? I am working on some Eve books right now. Eve has a new release coming out on July 24th, Mountain Man Wanted. And then I've got this weekend, we're going to a regional track meet for my kiddo. And then next weekend, I will be at Riders on the River. I'm getting super
Yay!
excited about that. So,
Nicole, are you going to that?
I will be signing there as well.
oh,
Yes.
cool.
Oh,
Good.
yay.
Yeah.
Good. Then I'll get to meet you in person.
We
Yeah.
actually have met, but you
Oh,
wouldn't
wait.
remember.
You know, you know what? I am the worst, absolute worst. And that's like my biggest fear is that, somebody's going to come up to me and I'm not going to remember because I
Why
can't
would you?
remember. I don't remember anything. Like I could meet somebody 5 times and I'm still, just kind of like deer in the headlights. But so my apologies.
Oh, no, I wouldn't expect you to remember.
Well, looking
That's
forward to
funny.
seeing you again. Who was it? I heard there was somebody that was talking. I don't remember who it was, but it was an author. And she said instead of saying, like nice to meet you, she just says, it's so nice to see you because that way if
You
you
don't
have
know.
already met
Oh my
somebody,
gosh.
you don't
Right.
sound so stupid.
Okay,
Yes.
everybody take note. That's what I've got
Yes.
to start doing because I
can't
mean,
remember. I don't want to give the wrong person credit, but I want to say it was Melanie Harlow that said that.
okay.
I can't
Nice
remember.
to
See,
see
I can't
you.
remember though because I can't remember.
Yeah. Nice
But
to see you. I'm practicing.
I
That's
know.
such a good it's like
See,
probably
but
the
I
best
forgot to
advice I've
say
had
it.
all year.
But I forgot to say it tonight. So there, my biggest tip for the evening.
Yeah. I'm horrible with names, just so you know. Just so everybody knows if we ever meet in the future, you gotta have a name tag on. If I see your name, I'll be like, oh yeah. Like I'm bad. But I was in the military, so I'm gonna blame it on that and the fact that we had name tags, so I never had to actually see anybody's face. I just could read their names. That's what I'm blaming it on. But
So,
yes,
Dawn, what are you working on
I'm working
besides
on getting a new
getting a
computer
new computer? Yes.
and, and hoping I can salvage all of the books and all of the everythings that I have on it. But I think I backed it up pretty good because I noticed a couple weeks ago that my memory was just always so full, and so I like got all these sticks and like pictures on this one and like word files on this one, and then I had like this big backup thing, and I was like big files like PDFs and Photoshop things.
Well,
But
hopefully you're all taken care of. I guess we'll
but
find out when your new
we
computer comes.
yeah, we will. And I'm very excited because I won't have any time delays either. And if I do, then Apple's to blame. So I won't have any of our normal time delays, and I'll hopefully you'll see me very, very pristine
Yeah,
and my
normally
internet will
you live in the future, right? I don't know why, but your internal
yeah,
clock on your computer
10
used to be
minutes in the
set
future,
like
all the
yeah,
time.
10 minutes
Yeah.
ahead. So it was
Hmm.
the weirdest thing. But
Yeah.
anything else? Have you been camping lately? It's
Oh,
camping
good.
season for you.
Good Lord. we've been camping so much that I told my husband I can't camp anymore for quite some time. And so I've banned camping until at least August.
Okay.
So I've got a couple weekends coming up, and then I work for the Chamber of Commerce too. So we're planning Brew Fest.
Ooh,
So I'm one of the planners and implementers of Brew Fest. So that's in a couple weekends. That's fun.
that sounds
So
like that's right up your alley.
it really is. Like Monday, my work day is at 4 o'clock. We're having a beer pong testing party
Oh,
at
okay.
the chamber. So we will be drinking beer, eating pizza, and playing beer pong to make sure it will work properly for Brewfest the way we
Got
need it
it.
to work.
You got to make sure those cups are spaced out far enough and that those ping pong balls have enough
Well, we
bounce.
actually want people to take the cups, so we're gonna push them really close together so they
Oh,
all get a cup to take with them because we have hundreds of extra cups from all the Brewfest past
oh, okay. So yeah, collector's items.
collector's items. Yeah.
It's all in positioning, right?
Yeah. So that's really what I've been up to and hoping my computer gets here so I can start writing again. But
Great.
yeah. So we are joined by, like I said, Nicole Craig and Mica Kennedy. Welcome, ladies. Welcome. Mica, I think we voluntold you to go first. So why don't
Sure.
you be first introducing yourself to us today?
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. I'm Mica Kennedy, and among the things I do is because I am a woman of many many interests, is writing paranormal romance, and that's what I'm doing these days. And that's probably reading for you.
Sweet. What are you reading from?
It's a piece called, pardon me, it's a novella called "The Knack of Bringing a Witch Back." It's a kind of lighthearted rom-com-y sort of a thing. And shall I go ahead and start?
Well, let's talk
Not
to
quite yet.
Nicole too. Yeah, we'll give a
Okay.
couple minutes and then.
All right, good. Phew. I'll give you
yeah.
some time to settle my nerves.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good to
Awesome.
see you're that eager, though. We're very
Yes,
excited
I
that
love it.
you're that
Okay.
enthusiastic.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want our viewers to know about you? Like, where do you?
I live in the Pacific Northwest, and therefore almost everything I write tends to be set here, just because I'm a little bit obsessed with Oregon.
You know, who else? Who else is it? Maisie Yates is from Oregon, and if you follow her on social media, it's like Oregon everything. She's obsessed with it too. I think that's a requirement for living in Oregon.
I think so.
Is
It's that kind of
to love it
place.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and she posts such pretty pictures too. Are
She
you
does.
in the coast at all, or are you?
We visit the coast. I
Okay.
live in the city
Got it.
proper. We're in Portland, which is the biggest city here. But yeah, we love the coast. We usually
Mhm.
make a trip out there every year, just stay for a couple days and
Mhm.
soak up that good ocean air.
Yes. Nice.
And I just realized you said Pacific Northwest and not Oregon, so I gave away your actual state.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
Dylan's used to me giving away secrets, so I'm so sorry.
Dawn can't keep a secret. I mean,
I can't. She doesn't tell me anymore.
no. She's outed me so many times on so many things. It's like, yeah, she's just not allowed to know anything
Yeah.
that's secret or important about me anymore.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sometimes I get offended, but I also understand at the same time where Dylan's coming from. So, all right, Nicole, how about you? Introduce yourself. Tell us what you were reading from, working on, whatever you want the viewers to know.
I'm Nicole Craig. I come from southeastern Wisconsin. So if I talk too fast, make sure you let me know because I hear that we do. I was a teacher, an English teacher and a theater teacher for 25 years. And I retired last June. And the first thing I did was dive. And I've been writing before that, but it was 16 hours a day into the computer to write and put out books. So that's what I've been doing in the last year since I retired. I pretty much have not left my computer. And I write a series called The Dead Man's Tribe, which is romantic suspense, global mercenaries. Some of them are military, but they're not in anymore. And complete with bad attitudes and all the rest of it. And then I also write in the Susan Stoker Operation Alpha Police and Fire world for Susan with the Badge of Honor characters. So I have one book with her, and then I have 4 books in my own series right now, one of which is releasing next week, Thursday, the day before, or Friday, the day before Writers on the River. So somebody thought it was a good idea to release a book the day before a signing. I'm not quite sure what.
I wonder who did that. Yeah.
I don't know. At the time, it sounded like a good idea. Now it's like,
Right?
oh, I shouldn't have done that. Now I learned.
Love it.
But
love
yeah,
it.
so I'll be reading from the new book.
Great.
Cool. And can I just say though that when you were just talking about your new job compared to your old job, you were like vibrant, like your face was like lit up. So I'm taking it from here that you're very excited to be retired and now being a writer instead.
I love teaching. I really do. I miss the teaching aspect of it. It was the inner politics in our building that was really stressful. And a lot of teachers, it's so hard. I know what they go through every day on a daily basis and what it takes from you. And I don't have children, so I can't even imagine what it was like to try and do that job as a parent. And as an English teacher, it was even worse because I was grading hours and hours of essays every day.
Yeah.
So it is a very distinct shift in terms of what I'm doing. But yes, I have never been happier. I have never been healthier. Leaving was like, and I actually retired early. I retired at 54 instead of 55. So they either kicked me out the door and said, "Get out of here. We don't want you anymore." Or they were like, "Yeah, you've earned your keep." So, but it's been great. It's been the best year of my life.
That's
Great.
awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I did a hot year last year substituting, and that was enough for me. I was like,
No.
no.
they will
Substituting
never
was enough.
They will
Yeah,
never pay substitutes enough for that job ever.
Well, no, they didn't. But
No.
look, we're in a small town, like I said, so it was really great politically for me
Yeah.
to do it, and that's really what I did. But yeah, teachers, they don't pay enough either. I feel like they don't
For sure.
pay police officers and teachers enough. That's my personal opinion. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it depends on what you do too. I mean, there's ways to make more money at it, but then you're also adding more stress. So, the more duties you do, the more coaching you do, the more, it just adds on and on and on. And being a theater teacher for some of it, I was up at 6 a.m. and in the building and there till 11 o'clock at night with rehearsal and those things. So it was a good thing I didn't have kids because I never would have been home with them.
Yeah. My sister's a 5th grade teacher and she's maxed out on everything and she's exhausted. And I'm like, girl, you need to be done. You need to, and she's not even close to 20. She's just like, I'm so tired. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Very
Awesome.
important job.
Yeah. Very, especially an English teacher, because then if you don't have English teachers, you don't have writers and right? I mean, you probably still would, but we wouldn't be as good at grammar without English teachers. Okay. So that being said, Dylan, I can't see our time, but are we good to have Mica read?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Mica.
Yep.
I'm
I think we are.
I'm gonna put you up there, and if I mess up a little bit, then you gotta just.
Whoa, there I am. Okay. That's great. So, like I mentioned earlier, I will be reading from the novella that I put out last December. It's called The Knack of Bringing a Witch Back. It's only an ebook right now, although I am working on getting it in print. So that'll be coming shortly. But just so you can see, there is that's what the cover looks like. And the excerpt I'm about to read to you is a scene where the heroine is just getting up after a night of a little overindulgence with her best friends / cousins, and then has a very interesting encounter that she can't quite explain. So here we go. I get dressed, wondering if I really am as boring as the cousins suggest, and if so, when did that happen? I mean, I don't think I'm boring, but maybe it's like when you're all sweaty and you smell bad, but then the scent is all over you, so you can't really tell if you actually smell. And then someone else shows up and you remember what fresh air is like, and you get a whiff of yourself and nearly pass out from the stench. Or maybe it's, maybe I need to stop overthinking this, I tell myself. It's fine. I am fine. I like my life. It's quiet, but it works. And there's nothing wrong with having a plan. Only now that I'm about to achieve the first of my goals, maybe I need to think about what happens next. The intoxicating scent of chocolate and coffee threads its way up the stairwell and straight to my brain. That would be courtesy of our family's matriarch, Grammy Adele. She must really want me out of bed. She knows I can't resist her special brew. Grandmother is an herb witch, like me, and she always makes my mocha latte with a little something extra that I can never replicate. She says it's love. I don't think she's making it up exactly, but I've also been searching every grimoire I can find in town and beyond for the real answer, in case it's less about love and more about a special variety of kale. When I reach the base of the stairs, my sister Mirabelle hands me a coffee and a thick white envelope. I'm surprised to see a letter with my name on it, especially here at the hotel. Then again, this is a small town full of witches and other supernatural creatures. It's easy enough to spell a letter to go to wherever the recipient is. I scan the envelope. It's covered in bold, loopy script with a distinctly old-fashioned flair. I don't recognize the writing, but then who sends letters anymore? Could be a distant relative reaching out who doesn't have our phone number or doesn't believe in modern technology where witchcraft will do. Thank you. I take a grateful slug of coffee, enjoying the tingles of magic that cascade down my throat. Wow, I feel better already. So much better that I might not even need the hangover cure. I make a pleased noise as I take another sip. Rough night, ma petite? Mama kisses me on the cheek. She does the same to Mary, who hands her an envelope that looks similar to mine. Perhaps it's an invitation. One of our neighbors must be having a baby shower or something. I grunt, just really grateful for Grammy's coffee. Where is she anyway? Mama laughs knowingly. She's had those hurricanes before and knows exactly how I'm feeling. You just missed her. She said she needed to do a little research and ran off. My little sister pulls out yet another of those envelopes and several more besides. She heads toward the sunroom, where the cousins are gathered, to hand them out. Mama rips hers open as the doorbell rings. I got it, I tell her. She smiles at me and heads toward the sunroom, which is filled with the dull roar of my cousins giggling and trash talking. The knocker rat-a-tat-tats as I walk across the lobby. Then the doorbell rings again. Holy Hecate, they're impatient. I throw open the door and am greeted by a ghost made of lace. Correction, not a ghost. More like a person-sized mound of fabric. On a closer look, I can see it's a stack of cylinders, each one covered in a different lacy fabric from ecru to champagne to purest white. Instinctively, I step back from the threshold. The bolts of fabric slip in past me, arranging themselves into a wobbly-looking pyramid in front of the massive round table in the foyer as soon as they're over the doorstep. What the heck? Excellent, you're up and about. I turn back to the open door. Betsy Burns, Devil's Rock's very own wedding dress designer, steps briskly into the room. I don't know how we're possibly going to get this gown ready in time. We've got less than a year. It takes months to get a wedding dress fitted perfectly, you know. Months. How I expected to create miracles under these conditions, I'm sure I can't say. Betsy snaps her fingers, and a suitcase emerges from beneath the fabric pyramid. It springs open, revealing a step stool, 3-part mirror, and measuring tape. The tape flies in my direction, winding around various parts of my body, while the pedestal slides itself underneath my feet, and the mirror settles in front of me. A chorus of squeals comes from the sunroom. My cousins and sister rush in, talking loudly over each other in their haste. Autumn sticks 2 fingers in her mouth and whistles, a hot, piercing sound that stops everyone cold, even Betsy's measuring tape and the bolt of fabric that's draping itself around me. You've been holding out on us, Gracie, she scolds. Amusement sparkles in Autumn's dark eyes. When were you going to tell the family about this? What do you mean? Miri waves another of those darned envelopes. The announcement that just came in the mail. Let me see what this is, Mama mutters, emerging from the kitchen. I hear the growl underneath her words. She has the patience of a saint, as long as she's had her coffee first. Pre-coffee Mama is a bit of a bear. Sometimes, literally. She pulls her bifocals from one of her many pockets. Slipping them onto her beautiful face, she pulls the envelope from the pocket of her cardigan and finishes opening the missive. The thick cardstock crackles as she reads. Foreboding suddenly swamps me as my mother scans the paper. Her eyebrows creep higher and higher until they're nearly kissing her hairline. I have no idea what could be making her react this way. This can't be about me. I run our family's magic shop. At home, I help my mother with dinner or my sister with her college essays. I sometimes go out with my friends. That's it. If I want excitement, I check my bank balance to see how close I am to a down payment on my own house. Crazy hedonism, I know. Mommy? My mother stares at that paper with shock stamped all over her face. Mom, are you okay? At the sound of my voice, she looks up at me, then back to the paper, then at me again, then back to the paper in an endless loop. My mouth goes dry and my heart races. Oh my goddess, whatever it is, it must be something terrible for her to look like that. Graciela? My mom's voice sounds like it's coming through a tunnel from far away. Is there something you forgot to mention to Papa and me? Confusion twists my brow into a frown. I don't think so. Like what? Like a fiancé, perhaps? A fee what now? Wordlessly, my mother hands me the elegant piece of paper. Even though it's the middle of summer, a chill runs down my spine as I read the words. You are cordially invited, the invitation reads, to the wedding of Graciela Jones and her groom. So there you go.
Okay. Let's see if that worked.
Yeah, we all made it back.
Okay.
Good job.
Yay. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Little bit, yeah.
Just gonna say. Are you willing to give away who the groom is?
No, Dawn, you have to read the book.
Well, if you go to the next chapter, there's a gentleman named Oscar who shows up.
Okay.
And, he might have something to do with this wedding.
And does he have magical powers?
He certainly does. He is the son of the god of silence.
Oh, now just that sentence right there made me very curious. Like, is he also silent?
No, he most definitely is not.
Okay.
No.
So he's just the son of
What
the
would
god
happen?
of silence, and he's not silent himself.
No.
I was gonna say that would be challenging to write.
It would. I thought about that though. I really
Like
did
a
think about
character
that. I was
hero.
like, oh my gosh, how in the world could I get that? Could I make that happen? It was just too much.
Yeah, because you'd have to learn sign language and then try to figure out how to write it.
Yeah, that's beyond my capabilities at this point.
I love it.
You could do
All the
that. There
time.
are lots of books that have characters who don't speak.
I know.
Yeah.
Linda Lale Miller wrote one that I read before I was a writer that I absolutely loved. It was a Western, of course. That's what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I think
there is some good ones.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know.
It would be challenging because, like,
it would be challenging because, I don't know what it would feel like to be somebody in that situation. So
it would be, and then like I feel like every hero needs to argue with their heroine at least once, right? So, like, how do they argue when they can't talk?
I have seen some really vigorous arguments in ASL. I will say that. So it can be done.
But how do you write that?
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue, Dawn.
No,
I think you have to. I think you just have to be a little more experienced. I think it would be tricky for me because I'm so focused on the back and forth and the crackle between them, and trying to make the dialogue really zippy. but
Yep.
it could be done. It could definitely be
Yeah.
done.
Though I love it though. So, does he have? Okay, without giving it away, because we all know that I ask too many questions to
I
give
feel
things
like
away.
you've already pried too much.
But I want to pry more.
Pry
What
away.
can you give away without giving us away about our hero? How about that?
Ah,
How about that question? Because I'm so curious about your hero.
You have to
he
read the book.
is,
I
yeah,
know. I will.
he is large and he has an accent.
What kind of accent? Is that
No,
too much?
tell her. Don't tell her anything else. Do not tell her anything else.
And well, I will say, no, what even are words? I don't know. He's Norwegian.
Okay, I was gonna
But
say, can you recreate the accent? But
oh
you
my
said
gosh, no.
Norwegian, so that's okay. I'll take
Yeah,
that.
that's I used to live in Minnesota, and so I met a lot of people with that accent, and it was really
Yeah.
very charming. Yeah.
Sometimes Dylan has that accent.
I never have a Minnesota accent. I grew up in Texas. I live in Minnesota now, so it's funny that you
Yeah.
say that. So
She
very
has
cool.
both. Sometimes she
I
has
do
both.
not.
You
Oh.
say that, but even my husband said I had a Canadian accent when he met me because I was from Montana. Because he said I said a boat and stuff. And I was like, I do not. And he's like, so you just don't know. Sometimes you don't know when you have that accent, and that's you, Dylan.
Sure.
You got a
I
Texan,
will
Minnesota accent.
embrace my inner Minnesotan.
Minnesotan. I
Yeah,
would tell
that's what I always
everybody.
say. I live in Minnesota, although
Yeah.
it hasn't been as snowy as it was when we first moved here. But
Yeah.
anyways, we digress.
We do.
So yes, thank you, Mica, for sharing that with us. Is
Of
this
course.
book in a series? I
It
mean,
is
are there
there will be more books in the series. This is sort of like a prequel
okay?
for the series to sort of set it up to sort of introduce the world. And yeah, the main characters of the series proper will be her cousins, who she calls the Four Seasons, because they
Oh,
are autumn, winter, spring, and summer.
Is that their names, or
Yes.
do they also have powers that coincide with their names?
They do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good job. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm super curious.
And have you only ever written paranormal, or have you written other genres as well?
Oh no, I write contemporary under my other pen name. So I
Oh.
have that's Mica Stone, and those books are set in and around a luxury hotel in downtown Portland. Because again,
Cool.
I'm obsessed with Oregon, so it's
I
set here
didn't
too.
realize you had multiple pen names. So
Yeah,
I did not know. Yeah. My
it's
next
just
question
a
was
bonus.
maybe that you should go on vacation so you could also write a luxury hotel in like Costa Rica,
yeah, I was thinking like the Bahamas.
Bahamas,
Oh, that
or
sounds glorious.
Puerto Vallarta. That's where I went to a
Yeah.
luxury hotel there. It was amazing. So
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
honestly,
Unfortunately, my vacation partner does not like hot places.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Do you want
it's
to trade?
unfortunate.
Your
You might have
vacation
to go to
partner can go
Norway
on a
then.
vacation with my vacation partner, and you and I will go to Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, I love that idea. That sounds marvelous.
I went on a like the luxury hotel in Puerto Vallarta, and like the the hotel manager there was so nerdy that like the romance author in me was like planning, like, oh my gosh, I could totally set him up with one of these guests. And I was coming up with like this full story for him because I think he was totally single. He looked totally single, anyways. So,
How does someone look single, Dawn?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yay for not making snap judgments about
well,
about people, my friend.
well, because he was down at the hotel cafe having coffee by himself. Not coffee, but like the shots of coffee. What are they called? I don't read
Espresso?
them. Espresso. He was having espressos by himself at like 6:30 in the morning, 7, 8, like any time between then.
He was working.
He was working, but he also lived there clearly because he never went to bed till like 12. So I thought that
Well,
if
how
he had
much
a
time
wife,
did
he
you
would at
spend
least have coffee with her.
stalking the hotel manager versus
No, I
actually
was planning
vacationing?
his romance story.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Too
Can
funny.
we get
Okay,
back on track, Dawn?
I'm sorry, Micah.
All good. All good.
That's what I do.
That is, sometimes I see people and I do the same thing. I'm like, if I were going to put them in a romance, this is a true story, I swear. I was walking down the street and I saw this married couple, and you could tell they were married because of the intensity with which they were speaking to one another and the vigor with which they were arguing.
Yeah.
And and that became, I think, book 5 in my contemporary
love it.
series. Just that moment totally inspired me. Because I was
See?
like,
I'm
I
not the
gotta
only
capture
people.
that.
I'm not
So,
the
yeah,
only people
I do it
watcher
too.
in this show today.
Yeah, but what I picked up from that little bit that Micah shared with us is that she observed.
I observed too. I observed that he needed.
She didn't stalk them and
didn't
monitor
stalk
their
him.
bedtime and all
I-
that good stuff.
Well, I
So,
didn't. I was just my sister kept me up until midnight every night, and my bedtime's 7:30.
yes, we all
And
know
so
your
my
bedtime is
sister kept me up
7:30.
till midnight, and I would see him around down there by the party zone.
All right.
And then I would get up every morning to go have coffee on the beach, and I'd go get my coffee at the cafe, and he'd be there every morning getting his coffee, his espresso. And I just was trying to find a guest for him because he just needed romance in my romance author mind.
All right. But
It was a very fun vacation for me. I mean, I didn't have to write. Most authors, who here has gone on vacation and the whole time they're thinking this would be really good in a book. I mean, I'm not the only one.
Oh, yeah.
You're not the only one. Yep.
But I didn't plot it out. I just fantasized about plotting it out and setting him up with this hot girl over here. So, okay, I'm getting weird now. So,
yep. What a lost opportunity for him. Had he only interacted
know.
with you, who knows? He'd probably be married with 7 children by now.
Well, he did interact with me, but it was to tell me where something touristy was.
All right. Moving right along. So Micah, you mentioned that you found inspiration in just, seeing a couple walk down the street. And I think that's one question that readers ask often is, where do you find inspiration for your stories? So I want to ask both you and Nicole, what is the most recent thing that inspired you? Because I know you can be inspired from anything. I mean, absolutely anything. So what's the most recent thing that has inspired you or given you like a plot bunny or something like that?
Ooh, that's a hard one because it's constant. It's just that is just the way my brain works. And I feel really fortunate that I can go anywhere and find a story.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think.
And don't say that you're now going to write like a hotel manager who works from 6 a.m. until midnight and doesn't know what love is. Don't say
in the Hotel D series, there is a story with these two folks. There are some backstage stories as well as stories about the guests. And there's one with these two folks who are both gunning for a promotion. Mm-hmm. And so there's a little rivalry going on between them.
I love those kind of stories. I love that trope so much. It's a good trope.
It makes me happy. Yeah, that one makes me happy. So, they're trying to out nice each other.
Can I ask you what was your favorite inspiration moment then? You mentioned that you had inspiration from the two married couple fighting. Which one was your favorite moment where you got inspiration from?
I have a friend who is a lawyer. I'm also a lawyer, but we don't talk about that. But
I was gonna say she slipped that in there quick.
There are a lot of recovering attorneys who are now romance authors from what we've discovered. Yes, for sure.
And my friend jokingly posted a picture of herself in one of our groups. And she's like, look how sexy I am. And it's her sitting there like covered in Cheeto dust. with one in her hand. And, she jokingly said, hey, you should totally write a romance about me. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. Bet. And that became Stay With Me, which is the first book in my Hotel D series.
I love it.
Challenge accepted.
That was that moment. Challenge accepted.
So how about you, Nicole? What is either your most recent inspiration or your favorite thing that you have come across for inspiration?
Well, ironically, it's something that didn't end up in a book. It started to go into a book, and then it got pulled out because some things got moved around and it didn't work anymore. But unfortunately, my other half and I are both best friends, but also are each other's tormentors. And so every once in a while I'll do something and he'll just look at me and he'll go, see Alice moment. And because he's like, this is why I married you. You are the humor in my life. And I could not be more happy with you than I am right now. But we were in the car and I have issues with seatbelts. I can't get them to work ever. And so we were sitting in a parking lot and I tried to pull my seatbelt and it wasn't working. It was all jammed up. I'm swearing up a blue streak. And I let go of the seatbelt and I punched myself in the eye trying to catch it. So, so things like that end up like in our everyday life, they tend to end up in the book. So every once in a while, one of my friends will look at me and go, didn't that happen? I'll go, yeah, that did. So there's a lot of little Easter eggs for people who know us of things that have actually happened to us in the book. And that's my favorite, I think, of all of them. And of course, then I had to cut it. So it started sitting in a file, hopefully to be used again someday down the line when I have another character like that, would do something like that.
Yeah. Those are those relatable moments.
Yes.
Where you're walking around looking for your glasses when your glasses are on top of your head. And all of those moments are the ones that make me feel not so alone.
That was the first book I ever wrote, was my sister. And she's like the most accident prone person I know. And so I would just like, okay, what happened to you today? And then I'd like write it, right? And then I finished the book and then she literally got shot. And just she was hunting and with my brother and just some buckshot got stray and she went like this and she got like shot in the head and the back. And I'm like, why couldn't you have got shot a month ago when I was writing this book so I could write it in there instead of now? Like, she's fine. She's got BBs in her head. She can't go through security without setting it off. But
oh my gosh,
she's totally fine. Like,
you are on fire tonight, Dawn. You are just on fire.
I am. I'm sorry.
Wow.
She's fine though. Just everybody know my sister's fine. If she ever watches my show, you're fine. But
well, that seems like a natural segue to hear from Nicole, who writes romantic suspense, right?
Yes.
All right, Nicole.
Should we do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to put you up here by yourself with my little phone.
I don't know if I can follow that story, but
no, you're good.
Try.
I love it.
So, the book that I'm releasing on Thursday, it's probably going to appear backwards for everybody, but this is the cover. I just have to give a shout out. We had trouble with the cover because I couldn't find a picture that I liked of couples. I prefer to have couples on my covers, and stock footage just wasn't working. So I had bought an exclusive image here. This is from CGC Photography. This is Eric Taylor Guimet. If you watch Hallmark, you may have seen him because he's done some movies there. And then Jackie Coleman, who is my absolute crush because of this beautiful blonde that she has in her red hair here. But they were like instant chemistry for me for the cover for this book. So it was like it was supposed to happen that way. But so the excerpt I'm going to read is hopefully not going to push the PG meter. If it does, just cut me off. But this is from Strong Enough, which is releasing on the 18th, and it centers around the medic of the group. His name is Demon. They all go by nicknames. And the female main character is the office handler. She runs everything from the company, and her name is Cherry. And they have been dancing around each other since the day Demon came to work for Tribe. That's the company name. And they're at a point where they have to make a choice. Are we going to do something about this, or are we not going to do something about this? And then as soon as they make a decision, things go haywire. And it's a fake marriage, one bed trope novel. So that'll give you some clues. So this is taking place in starts out in the break room at the company. And I should share with you that Demon has a functional addiction to painkillers. So when she references that, and there's some things that happen in here, that's what that's in regards to. When she walked into the break room to get her tea, his back was to the door, and he had just thrown back 2 pills and started washing them down with water. An involuntary gasp flew from her mouth, and when he turned to see her, she spun on her heel and speed-walked back to her desk. Teeth clenched to keep the tears at bay, she sat in her chair, staring at her computer screen, trying to regroup. It was bad enough that she knew he took them, but seeing it was a slap in the face. The drugs truly meant more to him than she did. He wasn't even trying to stop. With a deep breath, she sat up straight, resolved not to give him another moment of her time nor a single thought. Maybe he'd care for her in the beginning, but he certainly didn't care for her now if he was so blatantly disregarding her one tiny, completely reasonable request. She must have been sitting, lost deep in thought for a while, because suddenly a hand reached around her from behind and set her teacup on her desk. Tension filled her entire body when he placed both his hands on her shoulders, smoothing the silk over them and down her arms. She wished she hadn't taken her jacket off, but the office was overly warm this morning, the sun streaming in the glass doors and the windows despite the tint. Now she felt chilled as his hands kneaded her shoulders, his thumbs sweeping across the top of her shoulder blades. Don't. She shrugged his hands free from her. Why? Lucky Lucifer, this man's voice. Even just one word caused another shiver to pass through her. She desperately wanted to reach for her jacket that hung over the back of her chair to put more barriers between them, but that would let him know how unsettled he made her. He needed no more weapons in that arsenal. You're angry. Why would you think that? Because when you walked into the break room and saw me, you couldn't get out of there fast enough. I brought your tea to you since you abandoned it after seeing me and you were sitting here staring at a blank screen. You were so far in your head, you didn't hear the phones ringing. Plus, you're so tense right now. If I so much as breathe on you, I think you'd shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. Desperately, she moved to find something to do, anything, even if it was just addressing an envelope, something to distract her from him. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to see that. I got lazy and didn't bother to go somewhere private. She shrugged, trying in vain to make the situation seem inconsequential. None of my business. He grabbed the headrest of her chair, pulled it back from the desk, and turned it to face him. It most certainly is your business. Everything about me is your business. Well, I don't want it to be. Not anymore. In a fit of pique, she swiveled her chair back toward her desk, reached for a stack of folders on its corner, and stood from her chair, pushing it back hard with her legs so that it connected with his front. Heading for the conference room, she couldn't help but grin as hearing the grunt of pain as the chair wheel rolled over his boot and the exhale of air from where the chair back hit his stomach. It was too much to hope for that he would just drop it and leave her alone to sulk. Demon, unfortunately, was the most tenacious of the entire group, absolutely refusing to give an inch in an argument or to back down on an opinion when he felt he was right. However, when he finally began moving in her direction, he didn't rush. He casually strolled behind her, knowing he'd catch up with her. It wasn't as if he didn't know where she was going. They had a meeting later this afternoon, and since there was no clients on the schedule, she'd be setting up the room early. He entered the room moments after her, and he leaned against the door to shut it. She felt his eyes on her as she circled the conference room table, laying out the project folders. She hoped she projected an unaffected demeanor, but the precise way she was lining up the pencils, pens, and highlighters above each folder probably gave away the fact that she was working to keep her equilibrium. He was also stubborn. He just stood against the door, waiting her out. In some ways, he was worse than TB, whose interrogation silence technique was legendary. "What's the occasion?" she finally asked. "What do you mean?" "Well, usually when you come back from your sabbatical, you're still in your beach gear. Today, you're in normal people clothes." "If they make you uncomfortable, I can always take my clothes off," he suggested with heat. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw him stand up straight, drop his hands to his side, and then he walked up behind her. Moments later, his hands gently took her biceps in his grip as he stepped in tight to her back. She stiffened again. This was how all their private altercations had gone in the past, like it was some sick little game they played of who could rattle the other one first, getting them to give in to a passionate kiss. Unfortunately, since the bomb scare with Jem, those altercations had changed and now were more like two rival sharks defending their territory, biting, snapping, and tearing at each other. "I like you like this," he whispered, all prickly and full of sass. "You're always so cool behind your designer clothes, coiffed hair, and perfectly applied makeup. You can be as stone cold as the rest of us, letting no one see your emotions that you hide under your sleek surface. But when I get a rise out of you, you're the most genuine person I've ever known. So let it out, Fireball. If you're going to judge me, give me all your fire. No more hiding from me." "I just asked why the sudden change in appearance." With one finger, he pressed a kiss behind her ear. "Spent last night in my apartment, which you would have known if you'd come home after your date." "Why would it matter to me? I couldn't care less where you were or what you were doing or with whom." Clicking his tongue against his teeth, he brought his mouth down next to her ear, his lips barely brushing against the shell. "Liar. You can't care less unless you care in the first place." He kissed her again as he wound his arms around her waist to pull her impossibly closer to him. "So, how was your date?" "Not that it's any of your business, but I wasn't on a date. I was over at Flames helping her put away things for the baby." Internally, she rolled her eyes at herself. Why was she bothering to explain herself to him? It wasn't any of his dang business. "And you stayed the night?" She shrugged. "It got late. I was drinking wine. I didn't want to drive. Pick your reason." "Another lie. You hate wine. So you didn't stay out because I was in?" "Nope." Slowly, he turned her to face him. He kept one arm hooked around her waist and then took her chin between his thumb and forefinger, raising it to meet his gaze. She let loose an involuntary whimper trapped between him and the table. "What's the matter, Cherry?" He spoke low in her ear. "Uncomfortable?" "Yes. Please step back, demon. You're crowding me." "Your words say one thing, but your body is arching into mine." His hands cupped her arms and his lips caressed the shell of her ear. She might have whimpered again. She wasn't sure. Why was she mad at him again? In just a few seconds, he had made her forget. All she could think and feel right now was that their arms fit around each other perfectly, like no one else could be the pieces that fit together in the puzzle that was them. She was the perfect height for him to hold tight, her temple perfectly at height for his lips, and when he pulled her tight to his chest, her head lay comfortably on his shoulder. She felt secure there, like nothing bad could touch her. He was her perfect match. With a cry of surrender, her hands threaded through his hair, causing the sunglasses to go flying off the top of his head. She felt herself pulled into a vortex of lips, tongue, and teeth. One hand curled to support her neck and tilt her head so he could slant her mouth better to meet his kiss. When his tongue swept into her mouth, her senses went into overload from the overwhelming sense of the ocean that always surrounded him. It was intoxicating, something ineffably demon. Before she could protest, he lifted her to place her on the cool wood of the conference table. His mouth moved to her jawbone, then down her neck. The whimper now became a moan. Something, though, caused the image from the break room to reappear and remind her of where they were, who they were, and why this was all so, so wrong. She retracted her arms from around him and gently pushed at his shoulders. Turning her head from his kiss, she said the one word needed to end this craziness. No. He helped her stand, but then immediately backed up 2 steps. I may want this, want us, but nothing's changed, Demon. You know why I won't do this. You won't do this. At least you admit it's a choice. Ah! She slid from the table and made for the door. When she got almost all the way there, she turned back to him. It's always been a choice, just like it's always been a choice for you to ignore my request. That's because it's not a request, it's a demand. Hanging his head with a sigh, he ran his fingers through his hair, then stood there, hands on hips. When he finally looked up at her, she could see the confusion in his eyes. It's like this relationship is a effing whirlpool. Every time we get close, every time I try to bring you to the outside of the current and free us both, you keep fighting it. It's exhausting, and I don't understand why you keep doing it. Was she the problem? Was holding on to this condition ridiculous? Inside, she was warring with herself. How could she explain her refusal to him when she couldn't explain it to herself? If he'd just give her something, some rational explanation, maybe she could bend. And
Whoops. There we go. Getting everybody unmuted. Woohoo. Another cliffhanger.
I'm just going to say, like, I already love to hate your alpha male here. I just kind of want to kiss him and then also slap him. And I love it. Like,
that's the saying, right? Chicks dig jerks.
yeah. Especially
But only
me.
in fiction.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's not true. Yes.
is he a Navy SEAL?
No, he's a
Okay.
trauma surgeon in his other
Trauma
life.
surgeon.
Yeah.
Okay. Trauma surgeon. Wow. I heard that surgeons are cocky. And
Yes,
stuff.
very much so. Doctors. Well, I mean, I think it's that whole balance of holding people's lives in their hands. It's a God complex.
Yeah.
I seem to remember back years ago when the TV show House was on. I think it was.
I love House.
I'm not sure if it might not have been House. It might not have been another show, but it was around that same time period. And there was it was a crime procedural, and they were talking to a doctor, and he's like, in that operating room, I am God, because I determine, it's these hands that determine whether this person lives or dies. And so they don't consider it conceited or arrogant. They consider it confidence, swagger, whatever you want to call it, because they firmly believe that that. My doctor is not like that, which is kind of strange, but he's not a surgeon either. He's just
I was going to say,
doctor. So, he's like, but, yeah. So I have seen some of that with doctors, especially in fictional portrayals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure they're not all like that.
No.
But how often you get to, talk to a trauma surgeon too? Because, if you're in trauma, you're probably not in a position where you're actually going to be interacting with anybody.
Yeah, I'm guessing you never see them because they're off on the next thing, like they're in looking at a lot of the things about these. I mean, and the training that they go through is incredible. And they would have to, again. But the levels of things that they see has got to be, I would think, on par with things you might see in the military, especially if you're in conflict somewhere. So,
oh yeah, probably give you nightmares. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if doctors had PTSD along with, along with the military. But I think we're getting too deep. We only have like 6 minutes left here. Do we have any questions, or can I ask the question that I know Linda wants me to ask?
The question Linda wants you to ask?
Yeah, our Australian.
That's Deanna.
Deanna, dang it.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'm sorry, I'm tired. Deanna
Linda
wants me to ask.
Linda is our Canadian, but she's out for birthday drinks.
That's why I was confused.
So she's not here.
Yeah, we have a Canadian. We're a resident Canadian and a resident Australian. Dang it. I'm sorry, ladies. Sorry.
Yep. Deanna
I got you
always
mixed
wants,
up. Deanna
Deanna
does.
always wants to know if your life could be described in tropes, or your most recent relationship or significant other relationship could be described in tropes. What would it be?
Yeah. I heard that, Micah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's so hard. Go for it, Nicole.
I don't know that it's really a trope. I mean, I guess maybe it's along the fated mate line, but I have always been kind of take it or leave it. I've never been real big about like if the dating thing happened, it happened, or if it didn't. And then when I met my husband, I tried to break up with him several times before we even had really got going anywhere. And he showed up at our house with on Thanksgiving with flowers, but not for me, but for my mom. And I was
Ooh,
like, oh, now I got to marry him.
what a
You got
charmer.
swagger.
He
Yep.
learned, he knew. So and
Yeah.
he describes himself as Mr. Cellophane. I don't know if anybody notices that reference from Chicago,
Yeah.
but he's like, people just kind of look right through me. They don't see me, the whole thing. So it's really kind of a beta hero
Mhm.
sort of thing. He's everything that, like, he is a book boyfriend in pretty much every way, which people look at me and they go, oh, you're just making, I'm like, no, he's not. Like, he does all the things he's supposed to do. And he's also, I call him the one. I don't ever call him by name to anybody because I don't know how he feels about that.
Mhm.
So that whole kind of fated mate, but yet beta hero thing going on is probably the closest to our relationship.
All right.
So you say you call him the one. Is that like
He's the
your
one, the
pet
one,
name to
the
him?
one and
Do
only.
you say,
Oh, I
"Hey,
don't
the
call
one,
it that to
what do you
him.
want
No.
for dinner tonight?"
No, I don't call him that, but
Oh, okay. Not to his face.
just to
in-
the readers group, I
Okay.
use that because I know sometimes
love
the
it.
husbands, like, you can see them, but like they don't really want. They're like, oh,
Yep.
It's funny though because he is very he's very shy. He is Mr. Cellophane in a lot of ways, but he is the first one to talk about my books to somebody. Like,
Oh, I
he
love
knows
that.
me better than I do. So
So he is your biggest fan.
yes, yeah.
100%. I love that so much for you. I'm like, my heart is warm right now.
Yeah.
But we need to go to Mica because we have a question that popped up. I see, Dylann. Sorry.
Mhm.
I'm taking your job.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. My husband, I met through a mutual friend. He had gone to school with this person, and I had been to, I had a very brief, very minor time doing theater, and in Chicago, and that was how I knew this person, and he took us to, he invited us both to an event, and then walked away for the rest of the night. So I was there with this man who I had never met before, and he had never met me. And we were just like, oh my God, this is the most awkward thing ever. So it was sort of like an unintentional blind date.
A fix-up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever written that in a book?
I
As a
haven't. I
meet
should.
cute.
I
mean, you should write
I
your
really
own meet
should.
cute because that's super cute.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty delightful.
And so the mutual friend, was that their intention?
No,
Oh,
not at
okay. I
all.
was going to say,
You
were they
just
trying to
went.
get you together and fix you up? No.
No,
They were
they
just-
were like, you're cool, he's cool, you guys will be cool together. I'm sure you'll manage to have a conversation without me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you still friends with him?
We don't see him as much, but yeah, we are.
I love it.
Funny.
Great.
All right. We did have one question pop up we want to get to real quick before we wrap things up. Jennifer wants to know, what is a genre you wouldn't want to write in? So let's have you go first, Nicole. As you're laughing, what would be a genre you wouldn't want to write in?
We were just talking about this yesterday. That's so funny. I would never, ever, ever want to write a clean romance.
Oh.
I'm very clear. I need my smut. I need my payoff. So
I love
Well,
that.
after what you just read to us, I can't imagine why that might be a struggle.
that was edited as well. So just there. But yeah, I don't mind reading it every once in a
Mhm.
while for a palate cleanser. It better be good. But
Mhm.
I couldn't, like, I would never want to write that. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just I would be like, there's something missing here. I need
Mhm.
Yeah.
something. So
Yep. Oh, we all have preferences.
yeah.
It's funny though.
Yep.
Mhm.
How about you, Micah?
I agree with Nicole. I need my spice. I need
Yeah.
it real desperately. It's like, and
I'm
I
not sure.
love reading clean romances. That's like
Mhm.
Priscilla Oliveras writes these
Mhm.
wonderful
Yes.
stories that are so
Right.
good. And
Yeah.
but every time I'm just like, could you just crack that door open a little bit? Just a little bit.
I'm okay with putting my eye right up.
Right?
I love it.
Right? It's like I can look through the peephole. It's okay.
Yeah.
And suddenly
I
that
would-
book becomes something else entirely.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say there are books about that too. I know. Lots.
Yeah.
So it's
I love
funny.
it.
Too funny.
Well, I think we're about out of time, Dawn.
We are.
We
we were
talked too much. So shocker.
overtime. We're slightly overtime, but we're good. We're good. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you so
We
much for the
had so much
opportunity.
fun with you.
That's good.
We will be back in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should just say 2 weeks. No, because I can't say 2 weeks because if like the first of the week is like a little bit longer. It's not 2 weeks, but we will be back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks exactly from tonight.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. I'm sorry, my phone, I'm working off my phone, but we had so much fun with you. Feel free to come back. I know our viewers would love to see you again. So, all right, Dylan, do you have anything else to say?
I don't think so. Just, yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks and have a good night. And thanks, Micah and Nicole, for being with us. We really enjoyed hearing from both of you. And happy early book release, Nicole.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I will see you next weekend
See
Yes.
you a week from tonight.
in
Yeah,
Illinois.
or tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's okay if you like run her down in the hallway and be like, Dylan. Like
Yeah.
I've done that before
I
a
would
time or two.
never do that.
I have. You can. I give you permission. All right. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you,
Yep.
ladies.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.